She invited me, then accused me. The invitation. It had been 7 long years since Naomi last stepped into her older sister's house. 7 years of silence. No birthday calls. No holiday messages. No, how are you? Not even when their mother died. So when her phone rang that evening and the name Tasha flashed on the screen, Naomi froze. She stared at the phone like it had grown horns. "Why now?" she whispered. The phone rang again. With shaky fingers, she answered. "Hello." There was a pause. Then a familiar voice, calm but forced. "Naomi." "It's me." Naomi's heart tightened. "I know it's you, Tasha." Another pause. "I want you to come over this weekend," Tasha said. "Let's talk. Let's put everything behind us." Naomi laughed bitterly. "Put what behind us? You kicked me out at 19 and told everyone I was a disgrace." "I was angry then," Tasha replied. "We were both kids." Naomi clenched her jaw. "You were 26. Silence filled the line. "I just want peace now," Tasha finally said softly. "I'm married. I have a child. I'm tired of carrying hate." Against her better judgment, Naomi felt her anger soften. After a long breath, she said, "Fine. I'll come." What Naomi didn't know was that the invitation was not for peace. It was for revenge. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. Memories flooded her mind, the memory that destroyed their sisterhood. They had both been kids. Naomi was 12. Tasha was 19 then, already rebellious, already ruthless. Their aunt had visited and brought a small gold chain as a gift for Tasha. One afternoon, the chain went missing. Tasha had pointed at Naomi without blinking. "She took it," she said. Naomi cried and swore she hadn't touched it. Their father believed her. Their mother did not. That night, Naomi was beaten and locked outside until morning. But 2 weeks later, the gold chain was found inside Tasha's own handbag. Everyone knew the truth. Yet Tasha never apologized. From that day, hatred grew between them. And now, after all these years, Tasha suddenly wanted peace? Naomi whispered into the dark, "Please God, don't let this be a mistake." Tasha's house was in a quiet, classy suburb. A 2-story home with glass windows and a shining black gate. It was the kind of life Naomi once dreamed of. When Naomi arrived, Tasha opened the door with a wide smile. "Look at you," she said, pulling Naomi into a hug. "You've grown." Naomi stiffened but returned the hug weakly. Inside, everything smelled of money. Perfumed candles, polished floors, expensive furniture. Tasha's husband, Marcus, greeted Naomi warmly. "You're welcome here. Tasha talks about you all the time." Naomi forced a smile. Dinner was perfect. Laughter filled the room. Tasha even held Naomi's hand and said, "I missed you, little sister." For a moment, Naomi believed it. That night, Tasha prepared a guest room for her. "Make yourself at home," she said sweetly. Naomi slept peacefully. Too peacefully. The next morning, chaos erupted. Tasha stormed into the living room screaming, "My gold chain is gone." Marcus rushed out. "What?" "My wedding gold chain," Tasha yelled. "The one my husband bought for me." Naomi rushed out of the guest room in panic. "What's happening?" Tasha turned slowly and stared at her. Then, like lightning, she shouted, "You stole it!" Naomi's world shattered. "What? Tasha, are you serious?" Naomi cried. "I just woke up." Marcus looked confused. "Tasha, are you sure?" Tasha crossed her arms tightly. "She's the only stranger in this house. And this is not the first time she has stolen a gold chain." Naomi's knees weakened. "Not again," she whispered. The same lie. The same evil plan. After all these years. Marcus looked at Naomi with doubt in his eyes. "Tasha," Naomi cried, "why are you doing this to me?" Tasha's eyes darkened with silent victory. "Because," she said coldly. "I never forgot what happened when we were kids." The living room felt like it was shrinking around Naomi. "I did not steal anything," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "Search my bags. Search my body. I didn't take your chain." Tasha scoffed loudly. "That's exactly what a thief would say." Marcus rubbed his temple in frustration. "Tasha, calm down. Let's all breathe first." But Tasha was already dialing her phone. "No need. I'm calling the police right now. If she's innocent, she has nothing to fear." Naomi's heart dropped into her stomach. "Police?" she whispered. "Over a chain?" "You didn't think before stealing it," Tasha snapped. Within 15 minutes, 2 police officers arrived. Naomi stood trembling as they searched her bag. There was nothing. One officer turned to Tasha. "Ma'am, we found nothing." Tasha's eyes narrowed. Then she must have hidden it somewhere else. She's clever. The second officer looked at Naomi. "We'll have to take you in for questioning." Naomi's tears fell freely as they placed her in the back of the patrol car. As the doors shut, her eyes met Tasha's through the window. Tasha smiled. At the police station, Naomi was treated like a criminal. Name: Naomi Carter. Occupation: home care nurse. Reason for being in your sister's house? Each question felt like another slap. Her phone was taken. Her bag was locked away. She sat on the cold bench for hours, crying silently. Meanwhile, news spread fast. By evening, neighbors were whispering. "Did you hear? Marcus' sister-in-law stole gold. They say she has always been a thief." By night, Naomi's workplace had heard too. Her supervisor called Marcus directly. "We don't tolerate criminal behavior. Until this issue clears, Naomi is suspended." Her life had collapsed in one day. And Tasha slept peacefully that night. In her bedroom, Tasha sat on the edge of her bed holding the gold chain in her hand. It was hidden inside the lining of her pillow, the same way she hid it years ago. Her husband was asleep. She stood up quietly and went to the mirror. "You deserved this," she whispered to her reflection. "You embarrassed me when I was young. Today, I destroy you as an adult." Her phone buzzed. A message came in from their aunt. "Aunt Rose, is it true Naomi stole your chain?" "I don't believe it." Tasha responded without hesitation. "Tasha, she did. The same way she did when we were kids." But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "What if this goes too far?" She shut the voice out with a smile. The next morning, Naomi sat weak and broken in the holding room. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Just then, the door opened. "Naomi." She lifted her head slowly. It was Aunt Rose. Naomi broke down again. "Auntie, I swear to you, I didn't steal anything." Aunt Rose held her tight. "I know, my child. I know." Naomi looked up in shock. You believe me?" Aunt Rose nodded slowly. "Because history is repeating itself." Naomi's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Aunt Rose lowered her voice. "The chain that went missing when you were 12. I found it in Tasha's possession 2 weeks later. I kept quiet to protect peace in the family. But today, I will not be silent." Tears of hope filled Naomi's eyes. For the first time since the nightmare began, light appeared at the end of the tunnel. The truth is about to shake everything Tasha built on lies. Aunt Rose did not waste time. She left the police station and went straight to Tasha's house. Her hands were shaking, but her heart was firm. Marcus opened the door. "Aunt Rose," he said, surprised. "You're here early." "I have come for the truth," she replied sharply. "Where is your wife?" Tasha walked down the stairs with a calm smile. "Auntie, good morning. I hope you've heard what happened. Naomi disgraced this family." Aunt Rose stepped forward until she stood face to face with her. "Enough of your acting, Tasha. I know this script very well. Tasha's smile faded slightly. What do you mean? I mean, Aunt Rose said slowly, you did the same thing when you were 19. You hid your gold chain and accused your sister. Marcus froze. What? Tasha laughed nervously. Auntie, that was years ago. Don't bring old lies into this. Aunt Rose folded her arms. Then allow the police to search your room. Fully. Let them open your pillows, your mattress, your bags, everything. Tasha blinked hard. For the first time, fear flashed across her face. When the police arrived again, Tasha tried to protest. This is harassment, she shouted. You already searched my sister. One officer replied calmly. Ma'am, a new witness has come forward. We need to check your room. Marcus stood quietly in the corner, watching his wife closely. The officers searched everywhere. Closet, wardrobe, handbags, drawers. Nothing. Tasha sighed in fake relief. You see, I told you. Then one officer picked up her pillow. It felt unusually heavy. He opened the lining. And there it was. The gold chain. The house went silent. Tasha screamed, That's not mine. Someone planted it. Marcus staggered backward. It's in our bedroom. Inside your pillow? Aunt Rose closed her eyes in pain. You didn't change, Tasha. Tasha collapsed to the floor as the truth crushed her. At the police station, Naomi sat quietly when the officers returned. One of them unlocked her handcuffs. You're free to go, he said gently. Naomi lifted her head in shock. Free. They found the chain, he said. In your sister's room. Naomi covered her mouth and began to cry again, this time in relief. Aunt Rose hugged her tightly. You're safe now, my child. Outside, reporters were already gathered. Miss Carter, how does it feel being wrongfully accused? One shouted. Naomi said softly, It hurts when the people who should protect you are the ones who destroy you. Her words spread across social media within hours. The story went viral. Tasha was arrested that evening. Marcus sat alone in the living room with his head in his hands. When the police led her out in handcuffs, she screamed, Marcus, please. I did this for us. For us. Marcus shouted painfully. You destroyed my name, my home, and an innocent woman for revenge. Neighbors stood outside filming. Some shouted, Shame. Others said, So she framed her own sister again? Tasha was taken away in tears. That night, Marcus filed for divorce. And Naomi, for the first time in many years, slept without fear. Naomi returned to her small apartment with Aunt Rose that night. The place smelled quiet, lonely, and safe. It was the first time in days she felt like herself again. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. I lost my job, she whispered. My reputation is shattered. Aunt Rose held her hand. You lost nothing that God cannot restore. But Naomi didn't feel strong. She felt empty. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Unknown numbers. Reporters. Old friends. Even distant relatives who once ignored her now wanted to talk. She turned the phone off. For the first time in years, Naomi allowed herself to cry, not from fear, but from deep emotional pain. 3 days later, Marcus stood outside Naomi's door. He looked thinner. Broken. Aunt Rose opened the door and saw him. What do you want? She asked coldly. Marcus bowed his head. I came to apologize. To Naomi. Naomi stepped forward slowly. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I believed the lie. I allowed my wife to destroy you. Please, I am sorry. Naomi stared at him quietly. When you looked at me and doubted me, that hurt more than the handcuffs. Marcus nodded in shame. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed to speak the truth. For the first time, Naomi saw that her sister's lie had destroyed more than one life. The courtroom was packed the day of the trial. Tasha stood in chains, her makeup gone, her confidence shattered. Naomi sat beside Aunt Rose, her hands trembling. The judge spoke clearly. You are charged with false accusation, obstruction of justice, and malicious intent. Tasha looked at Naomi for the first time since her arrest. Their eyes met. And for a second, guilt flickered in Tasha's eyes. But pride won. The judge continued, How do you plead? Tasha whispered, Not guilty. A wave of murmurs filled the courtroom. Naomi closed her eyes. She knew this battle was far from over. When it was time for witness statements, Aunt Rose stood up. Her voice was steady. 20 years ago, this same woman accused her sister falsely. I kept the truth quiet for the sake of family peace. That silence nearly destroyed an innocent life again. Gasps filled the courtroom. Naomi's heart pounded. Marcus was called next. I trusted my wife blindly, he said. But the gold chain was hidden in our bedroom, in her pillow. The judge turned slowly toward Tasha. Do you still maintain your innocence? Tasha's lips trembled. For the first time, she broke. She began to cry uncontrollably. The courtroom was dead silent as Tasha cried. Her shoulders shook violently. The proud woman who once smiled behind Naomi's tears now looked small and defeated. I did it, she sobbed suddenly. I hid the chain. I framed her. A loud gasp ripped through the courtroom. Naomi's breath caught in her chest. The judge leaned forward. Explain yourself. Tasha wiped her face with trembling hands. I never forgave Naomi for what happened when we were young, even though I was the one who lied back then. I hated that she was believed. I hated that father defended her. I hated that she was seen as innocent while I carried guilt alone. Her voice broke. When I saw her life becoming peaceful, I wanted to destroy it. Marcus shut his eyes in pain. Naomi felt her knees weaken. The judge struck the gavel. Your confession is entered into record. The truth was finally out. The sentencing came 1 week later. Tasha stood before the judge, her head bowed. For deliberate false accusation, repeated malicious intent, and abuse of the justice system, the judge said firmly, you are hereby sentenced to 3 years imprisonment with mandatory counseling. Tasha collapsed in tears. Marcus turned away, unable to watch. Naomi sat frozen. 3 years. It felt both heavy and unfinished. After court, reporters crowded Naomi. How do you feel now that justice has been served? Naomi replied quietly, Justice may punish the guilty, but it does not heal the wounded. And that night, for the first time in years, Naomi dreamed without fear. 2 weeks after the sentencing, Aunt Rose invited Naomi over. There's something your mother left behind, she said gently. Inside an old brown envelope was their late mother's hidden will. Aunt Rose read it aloud. My 2 daughters, I pray you forgive each other one day. Naomi, for your kindness and sacrifice, I leave my savings and the old family land to you. Naomi's hands shook. Tasha was disinherited, she whispered. Aunt Rose nodded sadly. Your mother knew the truth long before she died. Tears streamed down Naomi's face. Her mother had believed her all along. That night, Naomi sat alone, staring at the ceiling. She had justice. She had truth. She had restoration. But her heart still felt heavy. Aunt Rose asked softly, Will you ever forgive your sister? Naomi closed her eyes. I don't forgive her for her sake. I forgive her for mine. A month later, Naomi wrote a simple letter and sent it to the prison. I will not visit yet, but I choose to let go of the hate. And for the first time in her life, Naomi felt free. Naomi refused to let the pain define her future. With Aunt Rose's encouragement, she applied to a private rehabilitation center across the city. The interview panel had already heard about her case. One of the doctors asked gently, How did you survive public disgrace like that? Naomi lifted her chin. Because I was innocent. And innocent people don't give up. 2 days later, she got the call. She got the job. Naomi dropped to her knees and cried in gratitude. For the first time since the accusation, she felt like life was finally opening its arms to her again. On her first day at the new job, Naomi met Dr. Ethan Brooks. He was calm, respectful, and soft-spoken. When Naomi mistakenly dropped a tray of files, he helped her pick them up. "First day nerves?" he asked with a gentle smile. She nodded shyly. "I'm Ethan." "Naomi." Something warm passed between them in that brief moment. Something peaceful. For the first time in years, Naomi felt seen without judgment. Inside prison walls, Tasha's life was nothing like the luxury she once lived. No glass floors. No silk curtains. No soft bed. Only cold walls and hard silence. At night, guilt visited her like a shadow. She saw Naomi's tears over and over again. One evening, a prison counselor said to her, "Your punishment is not just prison. It is learning to live with the truth." Tasha broke down for the first time, not in pride, but in real regret. Months later, a letter arrived for Tasha. It was from Naomi. "I am rebuilding my life. I hope one day you will rebuild yours too. I am no longer your enemy." Tasha pressed the letter to her chest and cried like a child. For the first time in her life, she felt something she had never allowed herself to feel. Shame mixed with hope. The church was filled with soft music and gentle light. Naomi stood at the altar, her hands trembling slightly as she faced Ethan. Her eyes shone with tears, not of pain, but of victory. Ethan held her hands and spoke first. "Naomi, I met you when your heart was still healing. I saw your scars, your strength, your silence. And I chose you, with all of it. I promise to protect your heart the way life once failed to." Naomi's lips quivered as she took a breath. "Ethan," she said softly, "I was once accused, rejected, and broken. But love found me again through you. I promise to walk with you in truth, in pain, and in joy. I promise to never let darkness win again." When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," the church erupted in applause. In the back row, Tasha cried openly. After the wedding, during the reception, Tasha stood alone by the gate. She watched Naomi laugh, free and radiant. Marcus, now remarried and calm, walked over. "She looks happy," he said gently. Tasha nodded. She always deserved that happiness. Later that evening, Tasha approached Naomi slowly. "I don't want to take space in your new life," she said. "But I just wanted to say thank you for not letting my evil define your future." Naomi pulled her into a gentle embrace. "Your past doesn't control you anymore," Naomi whispered. "What you become next is your real punishment, or your real redemption." Tasha walked away that night determined to live differently. 2 years later, Naomi held her baby boy in her arms as sunlight entered the hospital room. Ethan was beside her, smiling with trembling lips. "What will we name him?" he asked. Naomi smiled down at the child. "Victor," she said, "because he is born of victory." Aunt Rose cried with joy. And outside the room, Tasha stood quietly with flowers, waiting, not demanding access, not pushing boundaries, just hoping for a chance to be better. When Naomi invited her in, Tasha fell to her knees again. "I will never harm this family," she promised. Naomi believed her. Years later, Victor would grow up hearing the story, not as a tale of hatred, but as a lesson of truth. Naomi would tell him, "Never accuse the innocent. Never use the past as a weapon. And never think forgiveness is weakness." Tasha would become a youth counselor, helping troubled girls who were damaged by jealousy, anger, and pride. And every Thanksgiving, the sisters would sit at the same table. Not as enemies, but as survivors.